What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Alex. Of course, you know me. I talk a lot of movies, and I have a very special guest here with me today, Leo from Geekly Goods. What's going on, Leo? And Cinemania.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah,
Glad to be here, Alex. I appreciate you for having me, man.
yeah,
Yo, The Flash. All right. Interesting
yeah.
because I think we're on separate sides of the fence here, and I'm interested to
Oh,
talk about it.
see, this is why I wanted to have you on. So this is going to be my very belated spoiler review for The Flash. I'm going to do this how I usually do it with all of my or most of my spoiler reviews. Break it up into different topics and put like title cards there so you guys can skip to whatever topic you want to hear us talk about. So let's get right into The Flash.
Love that.
From the beginning, for the first hour or so, I thought this movie was hot garbage. And then,
Oh, man.
yeah. And then
Oh,
the moment Michael Keaton shows up as Batman, I was like, okay, this is becoming better, but it didn't get much better after that, though.
oh,
But I'm
man.
like, it made me like the movie a lot more. But I can't say that I love the movie. You know, I'm kind of split right down the middle, and that's mostly because of Michael Keaton. What about you, Leo?
Yeah, so I will admit I've got this at number 5 in my overall DCEU. So I actually the things like I've got above it are the Suicide Squad at number 1,
Okay.
Wonder Woman at number 2, Peacemaker at number 3, and then what did I have at number? I think I had something else at number 4. But I have one more at number 4 and then this at number 5. And I was like, okay, that's where I've settled because I actually had it at number 3 because Peacemaker was bumped off.
Right,
And I
right.
think I bumped it down under something else recently. But
Yeah.
listen, after I watched it immediately, I really had a great time. I will admit it. I really liked it. I would say the first like 20, 30 minutes, very promising
Okay.
because we here's the thing, it's like it zooms in on him as when he's about to run out the Flash and the theme song starts
Yep.
playing, you're like, hold on, man. Like we're strapped in for something special.
Yep.
Oh, the VFX, especially with the babies and stuff. I will go out and win. I gotta say this because I did see the
Yeah.
CinemaCon cut, and I thought there was going to be an update to the VFX. But
No.
aside from that, I did have no, there wasn't. I was like, oh no. But aside from that, I did have a fun time. I did like really loved Michael Keaton and Sasha Kaye. I thought they
Oh,
were
yeah.
honestly.
They
I really liked Ezra, but I was like, they really helped me really enjoy this movie.
yeah,
They were incredible.
they put this
Um,
movie on their
Keaton
back.
especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like he hadn't even removed the suit.
Yeah.
That was like such a good performance by him. And like what I loved about Keaton's Batman so much was that they used the technology and
Right.
they used the grappling hook just like his Batman uses. He uses
Right.
like a more tactical fighting style. I love how they brought that into the movie, and you see that contrast with Ben Affleck's Batman. Like you see
Right.
he's on the cycle, he's like beating guys up close range. Like his
Exactly.
Batman style is so different, and I really
Yeah.
liked getting the two Batmans just to see them. Well,
See,
this is spoilers, so 3 Batman.
see, I haven't been huge on the Snyderverse stuff, but like I've always been a defender once I saw BVS of Ben Affleck's as Batman. Maybe not necessarily the way he's written, but Ben Affleck playing Batman. You know, so I and
Yeah, certainly.
yeah, and to me, the best parts of this movie were the Batman stuff, like both the Keaton and the Affleck
Mm,
stuff. And I can see why Andy Muschietti has been tapped to direct the Brave and the Bold, because I could tell I was like, he gives a shit about Batman. Why is everybody?
yeah.
Why does it seem like everybody just loves Batman, and then they're like, who gives a shit about anybody else?
Yeah,
So
Batman's like such a top tier
yeah,
DC hero. So yes, his in that BVS warehouse scene, Alex. Oh, I know you know the
oh yeah,
level of that.
yep.
Holy smokes! I mean, that got us wanting more, and we'll never
Uh,
get it now.
I know, right? So let's get into that opening action scene because that was the part where I was like really like this is kind of cringy. I mean, I was not a fan of him putting the baby in the fucking microwave, and
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
was
think that that was
ridiculous.
funny. Like like, the tone for me was all over the place in, like, the first, I would say, 40 to 50 minutes, especially that action sequence, because it just seemed like they were just trying to make a big joke out of everything.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't like the CGI babies and him lining them up, and then them coming up with, I'm gonna say the word excuse a lot in this review, but them coming up with the excuse where it's like, he can't, like, take them with him because he runs too fast, and they, like, might die if he runs too, I don't know, something like that, I forget what it was.
Right, right, like a whiplash
Yeah.
effect or something.
So he's like, I'm gonna put this baby in a microwave and send it on its merry way and put these things on like a gurney and all that. So I was just like, what are we doing here? It wasn't like a good omen for me to begin the movie. And then the Wonder Woman cameo, look, I'm fine with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but it felt very similar to the Shazam Fury of the Gods cameo where
Mm.
she just pops up out of nowhere. I know you probably feel differently, but
Well, yeah, well, the Wonder Woman cameo, at least this time it was like the Justice League were together.
that's true.
Like Batman
That
was
is
like,
true.
"All right, we're working as a Justice League,"
Yeah,
and this is so,
that's
so I
very
was like,
true.
"Okay,
Yeah.
that works for me." But like in Shazam too, when she just shows up because it's like, "Oh,
It
we
was
need a
very
god to
random.
save him," and then all of a sudden,
Yeah,
Wonder Woman just out of nowhere. I'm like, "Okay, that was BS."
yeah,
But I really did not enjoy the baby in the microwave part. I'm gonna go out
yeah,
on a way whim and say that was really bad. And
right.
not to mention, I didn't like the part either where Ezra was like, or I'm sorry, Barry tells the nurse like, "Oh, maybe Justice League aren't the best at therapy." I was like, dude,
I
they
know.
they needed to edit that out
Yeah,
big time.
that was my
Like
thing.
I was like, nah, that's a
Yeah,
little.
that was my
And I'm
thing.
like, the final cut had that. That was like, come on. So
Yeah,
yeah, a little bit of a weird one there. And then I would say I know a lot of people don't like this, and I think VFX wise, it doesn't look that great, but it does feel cool. Like when he's doing the running thing and it's like the POV shot down on him. I actually really did like that. And
okay,
I know it is something that visually isn't the best executed, but I think I like the idea, and I
okay.
kind of
Yep,
felt
I
like
can see
I just I liked it. Like when he was running in the beginning, and it had that shot of him, and he's like small in the shot, and
yeah,
it's like that
I can
POV
see that.
looking ahead. I like that. I
Yeah,
think the VFX were not clean,
no,
but I loved the idea. I loved the idea. I thought, okay, like this cool kind of perspective wave. I like that. And remember, I'm watching this thinking that there's going to be an update, and no, there wasn't. But
not at all. Yeah,
yeah, and that it's too late in the DCEU for them to be making any excuses about how it looks. Way
exactly.
too late.
Yeah, I didn't buy that whole BS that Anthony Muschietti said where he said, "Oh, it's supposed to look like that on purpose." I'm like, "No, you can just admit you didn't have time to finish the movie." And
Just admit it.
exactly. Like I get defending your movie, but man, come on, just admit it. And again, I think the best parts for me of that sequence were the Ben Affleck Batman scenes, like where he's chasing Falcone's goons. I'm like, this is
Those were good.
I was like, this is where I'm having the most fun. And then you switch to Barry, who's throwing babies in microwaves and cracking jokes, and I'm like, I don't necessarily mind it being more lighthearted or jokes, it's just the jokes weren't landing for me, and I don't think that they were necessary in that part of the movie.
Yeah, that's a fair criticism. It definitely could feel a little jarring to get like the Batman stuff happening over here and then the
Yeah,
hokey jokey happening over here.
and that's kind of what I felt like was setting me up for a bad omen for the rest of the movie. At least until Keaton showed up as Batman. Because even when that stuff's not going down, I mean, we'll talk about it more when we get into the two berries, but
Mhm, mhm.
even that I wasn't huge on. But before we get into the two berries, let's transition to the time travel aspect. I guess specifically the reason the time travel happens, what transpires from that, and the impact that that has on the rest of the movie and potentially the rest of the DC universe. You want
Yeah.
you want to kick it off?
Sure. I mean, I think that honestly, it felt like Flashpoint. Now, obviously, there is the mother. We see her dying. I'm like, okay, they don't show the killer. I'm assuming that's a reverse Flash setup. I would have
Yeah,
loved to have seen that paid off.
Should have been the villain.
Should have been the villain, man. And well, that is one issue. I think
Mhm.
that's my big ink stain, other than the VFX on like the Flash. I just was like, come on, man. Come
Yep.
on now.
Yep.
But I did, I guess, sorry, going back, I totally went on a tangent there, but
Oh,
going
no,
back,
dude, talk however long you want.
the time travel was really, really, in my opinion, executed well. Visually, not at all.
No.
I'll be honest. Visually, no, no, not at all. But I think as a concept, how it was used, I think that it really did actually execute well. And I think it did lead the movie in a direction that I think helped pick up Keaton and it made sense and it helped. Hopefully, it's going to be what helps us move on to another universe because, Alex, they really got to stop holding on.
I
They're
know.
doing
Like,
research for Aquaman, and it's like,
dude,
why are you guys holding on to this
it's like
universe
it's like
that
they
is totally done? You guys were done with this. James Gunn said it was done. He made that announcement.
they
Why are we?
wonder why these movies ain't making money. It's because you already announced they're done. Like,
Yeah,
what's the point? Yeah, I agree with you on the time travel thing. I think it worked for me mostly. The concept of it, the rules of it are a little hazy, but I mean, you always ride that gray area anyways when time travel comes into play. So you just kind of it's just one of those things where you have to roll with it. I think what I wanted, and this might sound like, well, we have the past movies as the build up to that more time with Barry and his mother because I didn't really. I felt like that was kind of the missing point for me with this first half of the movie was that I didn't get enough time with his mother, therefore I didn't emotionally connect to Barry as much as I feel like I should have, and I didn't connect to the mother as much as I should have either. And I know that like in universe, his mother was already dead, and the reason this is happening is because he wants to go back in time and save his mom. I get that, but I just needed a little bit more from that, as opposed to, hey, let's just train the other Barry for half the movie. I wanted a little bit more of an emotional connection to Barry and his mother before she died.
yeah, and I totally understand that perspective because in my opinion, it is a little much. Like there are a few too many things going on here, and there's an idea that they introduced very late in the movie, the evil Barry, which it was just way too late to be doing something like that. So I
Yeah.
think that you pretty much have three separate Flash movies going on here.
Hmm.
You have an origin a little bit, like some kind of like origin to this Flash a little. You've got a movie that follows up from Justice League,
Right.
because there's a Batman now. Then we go back in time. There's a Supergirl, so it's following up on Justice League,
Right.
and then you also have the like mother and son movie going on here, and I think there's so much going on that it just doesn't create opportunities to really let all these ideas breathe, which is
Exactly.
why my big I think one thing that would have saved this movie is if it was Flash 3. Like if this was like the
Yeah.
second or third in the trilogy, we could
Exactly.
do out we already know about Barry's mom. We could have done without all that
Exactly.
because this is the first time on a big screen we're getting Barry and his mom. Like some people didn't even watch the show.
Exactly.
Oh, I did, but some people didn't watch the show.
Yeah.
So for those who maybe didn't watch, this is their first big screen exposure to the Flash, and
Yeah.
yeah, it does feel like a little bit of highway robbery there.
Yeah.
About
You watched all those lightning bolt lightsaber fights?
I didn't finish. Let me just say that I didn't finish, man. But holy smokes!
Let's move into the two berries now. This was an aspect that I went back and forth on because, for one thing, I think it matured present day Barry a lot. Where, sorry, there's like if you hear something, there's a giant truck in the background because I live next to like a busy street. But I think I like the way that like present day Barry, the one that goes back in time, was portrayed in this segment of the movie, and for the rest of the movie, honestly, because at the beginning he's kind of still like that, man child, but then here where he realizes that what he did going back in time has dire consequences and he could save his mom, he kind of smartens up a little bit and becomes a little bit more focused on what he has to do and try and train Barry. But then you have the other Barry from the past, the long haired Ezra Miller, and he's just over there being like, Eric Stoltz is in Back to the Future now and cracking jokes and everything. Which was that was a funny joke. I'll admit.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was hilarious. But like it just it was just such like a jarring disconnect for me where I feel like you could have that at first, but I feel like that went on for too long where past Barry was just way too much of a jokester.
Yeah, I feel that. I think I did like the dynamic because it kind of felt like big brother, little brother. And at the same time, it
Yeah.
also was like, okay, future self, who is this one small change
Hmm.
in the lifestyle completely changed him as a person. I mean, arguably, he's younger, he's kind of a
True.
lot more gullible. Like,
Yeah.
clearly, he doesn't know how to concoct a lot of stuff in the lab. Like, it changed who he is.
Yeah.
So I think that to me, it made sense to have them be that way because him missing his mother caused him to be who he is today.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Batman was trying to tell him in the beginning.
It's true.
Like
Yeah.
he wouldn't go back in the past and because that's who he is. He's Batman. So
Right.
it's just like I think that made sense to me. Now whether it was executed always well, arguable. I did like the dynamic most of the time. There were a couple times I was like, okay, yeah, that younger one is getting on my
I think
nerves. I'm
I,
gonna be real.
I think the only thing that I liked that did come out of that was present day Barry didn't have his powers, but you see how past Barry gets his powers. Like he had to be in the lab at that
That was cool.
yeah, at that I thought that that was actually a pretty effective scene. I liked that dynamic of that as opposed to hey, big brother, little brother, and I got to show you the ropes. But I guess that kind of goes hand in hand. So maybe I'm just talking out of my ass at this point. I don't know.
Nah, man, you're just doing you, bro. I get it, cause like there's some scenes where I'm kind of like, okay, that younger one getting on my nerves a little bit. Like
So,
when he got popped in the leg, I was like, oh hell.
another part I laughed at though is the part where present day Barry's trying to use his powers and he's just walking in circles and I think he hits a wall at one point too.
Yeah. Oh my god, when he just like
Actually
fake
fun.
runs in
Yeah,
circles and stuff, and it's like that's how ridiculous the running looks.
exactly. Yeah.
So I think that was a fun little like jab at how bad the running is.
Yeah, so I think it's mostly up to that point for me where I was not vibing with the movie at all. Like there were a couple of little things here and there that I was liking, but overall, to that point, I was saying to myself, I'm not feeling it. And then they see on a news broadcast that Zod is coming to Earth. And Barry's like, oh shit, that happened. We have to prevent that. We got to call the Justice League. I like the joke there. Where we can't find Diana. Oh, Arthur Curry hasn't been born yet. And Cyborg doesn't have his powers. So who do we got to go to? We got to go to Batman. And then that's where we get it. That's where I think the movie picked up, where they got to the old I don't even know if it was the 89 Wayne Manor or Batcave. I don't think it was. I think it was a completely different set.
Yeah, I think that's something completely
Which
different.
which my cousin Pat actually was talking to me about it. He's like, "Dude, go ahead, spoil the whole movie for me. I'm not going to see it until it's on streaming." He asked me. He said, "Was it even Tim Burton's Gotham City in the past?" I said, "No, I think it was the Zack Snyder Gotham City, and Michael Keaton was just inhabiting that world in the past." And he's like, "Oh, what the?"
Pat, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Um, but so we're getting into Batman now, and I think that once Michael Keaton shows up, I think that this is where the movie takes off significantly because he's almost like the father figure, and he's explaining like the rules of the time travel. I forget the rules exactly, but like I don't know anything with time travel in this movie or Endgame or any movie dealing with time travel, it fries my brain. So just trying to think about it. So it's just
I
one of
get
those,
it.
yeah, one of those things where you just have to roll with it. But essentially, he's like, yeah, it's a multiverse. That's essentially what it is. That's the gist of it. And initially he's like, I don't want to help you. Like Gotham doesn't need a hero anymore. Like I'm retired. Like there's other heroes that can step in. And eventually he's like, nope, I'm gonna help you. And I'll tell you this though, like I said, I wasn't vibing with the movie at all. But when they go to Siberia and Keaton glides out of the Batwing and you hear dun 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 dun, like his old theme, I literally audibly in the theater was like, yeah, like I was so happy. It was so much fun. And then that's where I said, okay, now this is starting to pick up. They got to go to Siberia because they get like a signal that they think it's Kal-El, but it's not Superman. It's actually Supergirl. So they're going to break her out, and that's when Batman comes in to help. What were your thoughts of seeing Keaton when he first shows up in the movie and that whole action scene where he gets to just kick ass with for the first time in like 30 years?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah,
Great return to form,
I
man.
know. So good.
Gore, the combat,
Yeah,
bringing him back, period, just him being back in the suit. What
yeah.
a glorious, cool moment. Like, I was
I
just like,
know.
this
I
is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
to be there, be seated, it just felt, I don't know,
It's one of
like,
those
it
things.
just felt like a cool comeback. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It was like, I
yeah.
haven't seen this guy do this in 30
It's
years, well over. I mean, it's just, it's
yeah,
awesome. It's awesome to get him back on screen, and it just didn't feel like he had ever stepped out, if I'm being
exactly,
honest. Like, he felt fresh, felt right back,
exactly.
he felt comfortable, like, right back where he belonged.
Yep.
It just was awesome. Like, Keaton was great. Like,
Yeah,
I liked his whole vibe. I do agree with you that the movie picked up a little bit there. I
yeah.
do think that it finally got some hustle and bustle, like, we got some urgency here.
Right.
I you know, this is why trailers are so they're such a mixed bag. Because imagine if they didn't even reveal it was Supergirl.
Dude, I know,
Well, you know
like,
what?
how much less money would this have made opening week?
Right? Because I'm like, that's a bad idea. They
Yeah.
made it seem like it was
Yeah, they
Superman,
had
and
to
it was like,
sell it
oh,
somehow, you know?
yeah, yeah, and
Um, I guess for me, it works 2 ways because in one sense, it's kinda like No Way Home where Andrew and Toby come back, and you're kinda looking at
yeah,
Spider-Man on screen, you're like, "What am I looking at right now?"
right.
And then
Is
it
this real
also
life?
yeah, and then, like, am I witnessing, like, Michael Keaton as Batman in a movie theater? And then I guess it also works another way too, in a similar way to No Way Home as well, where you could honestly watch this with Batman and Batman Returns and just say like, hey, this is Keaton's like third Batman movie or something, you know?
Truly.
Like how you could watch No Way Home after you watch the Raimi trilogy or the two Amazing Spider-Man movies, and it would fit in seamlessly. It feels like the
You know, I do wish we got Amazing 3.
yeah,
Even though Amazing 2 was so bad, I
yeah,
do wish we
yeah,
got Amazing 3,
you
though.
know, I hated Amazing too, so it's kind of like I'm okay if they stop at two, but at the same time, I hate it when stuff stops at two. I'm like, just make the third one.
Isn't there that itching curiosity, though,
Yeah.
of like, "All
Well,
right, how does this resolve?"
where's my
Because
national
it's
treasure
clearly
three?
open-ended.
Yeah, where's my National Treasure three or my Sherlock Holmes three? Damn it!
They'll try to make them 20 years later, and it's like, "Ah, here we
Exactly.
go."
Yeah. But also there is a part of me that regrets the way Batman's handled a little bit in this movie. Because to me, like as much as I love seeing Michael Keaton come back as Batman, and it was awesome and it was glorious, he kicked some ass, he threw some goons on the ground like he did in '89 in Returns. They kind of bring him back just to kill him, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I was cool with it, where he's like, okay, I'm gonna kamikaze my ship into Zod's like Kryptonian ship, and I'm like, Batman, that's probably not a good idea because you're gonna die, and he does die, and then they go back in time, undo it, and then he dies in a different way the next time, and they go back in time and they undo it. But then the more they keep going back in time, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way where they were like, no, 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 like no matter how many times you go back in time, it's inevitable he's gonna die. And I said, so we just brought him back to kill him, essentially. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But other than that, I thought he was great in the movie.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that I thought he was great.
Yeah.
I do think it was kind of this cool idea to play with, like, no matter what you do, this
Yeah,
this is just an inevitable thing to happen. I did like that, and it did feel very Batman to me that, like, in the case that his tech did fail,
yeah,
Batman's gonna go out, bro. He fought
yeah,
Darkseid alone.
yeah. And
Like,
it's like,
he's gonna go out, you know what I mean? So I was like,
yeah,
it feels very Batman to me.
okay,
Don't feel like I
okay.
don't know. I guess I don't feel like he was necessarily wasted. I do feel like this whole universe was wasted. So I
Yeah,
think
for sure,
I'm just kind of like, there goes
definitely.
Keaton, and I think
Yeah,
I'm just kind of like,
dude, I don't know if
I'm just kind of hollow to it because the
yeah,
DCU. I'm like, we've had a Justice League and then a Zack Snyder's Justice League here.
and not
Whatever. If one more person's gone, they're gone.
yeah, and not to mention, I don't know if it was in the CinemaCon cut that you saw, but I know that they changed the ending for Keaton's Batman because he was supposed to be in Batgirl as well. So he was initially supposed to live.
Yep.
Maybe there would have been like another like I don't know time travel element where he somehow survived. I don't know, but now and then you bring Keaton back, and my whole thought was, okay, well, if they're doing the Brave and the Bold, which I think is stupid to do, as your like second movie or whatever it is, I was like, okay, you can use Keaton as an older Batman, but that's completely out the window now. So I wasn't too yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I think for me, like it does feel very Batman-y because I think he would do that anyways. And obviously, like Batman's like human being, like he doesn't have superpowers, like he's gonna die eventually. No matter if it's from crime fighting or old age or whatever the hell it is. But I just think bringing Keaton back for like the last like hour of the movie and then being like, oh hey, he's gonna die no matter what. I don't know, like I just feel like you. I don't want to say you necessarily like piss on the legacy or of the first two or anything, but I think it would have just been I think it just would have been more solid if you were like, there's like that gray area where you go back in time sometimes and he dies, but then there's instances where he can live. And I think I would have liked that more just to kind of wrap up his arc. Because I feel like with him dying, now I just kind of just want a Tim Burton directed Batman 3 with Michael Keaton, you know? So I feel like we were better off at that point. But that's just me. So I get where you're coming from. Like everything feels very Batman-y to me, but I was just disappointed by that Batman aspect
And
specifically.
that's understandable. It would be nice to present like at least a few possibilities where he could live.
Yeah.
But I think that Evil Berry, man,
Ooh.
that was not a good idea to put
Dude,
so last minute.
I got PTSD from that crunchy, crusty looking for the moon dude.
Avatar knockoff.
Yeah, I was like, that was Doomsday all over again for me. Uh,
Yeah, it was weird because it's like, why introduce Dark Flash so late in the movie? Like,
yeah,
this is
I mean,
totally a villain of Wally West, first off. Second, this is a cool idea to
yeah.
present
See,
if we're building it up through the movie, but he just got attacked at one point, and I was like, well, let me.
see,
I
you have
thought
more.
that was, I thought that was, I thought that was Reverse Flash
Yeah,
that
see,
attacked him.
you have more knowledge of the comics than I do, so I had no idea he was a Wally West Flash villain. So,
I
um,
believe Dark Flash is a Wally West. So
okay, yeah. I mean, I know Wally West, Jay Garrick, and Barry Allen. That's all I know. But yeah, I mean, the Siberia sequence, I actually thought that even though the visual effects were bad in that scene, I did like that scene. I like the breakout of Supergirl, and then thinking like, is this Kal El? And then it wasn't, and then I love Sasha Kaye as Supergirl. I don't think it's gonna happen because I think they're just gonna reboot the entire thing. But I would like to see her come back as Supergirl, and they do the whole thing from Man of Steel 2, where she now has the Codex instead of Kal-El, or Zod intercepted the Codex. I forget what it is. He either intercepted the Codex and killed Kal-El, put the Codex in her, or she already had the Codex from Jor-El in her, and Zod still intercepted Kal-El. I don't know. Zod was a major disappointment in this movie, I thought. But
this
that,
shouldn't have been brought back. I mean,
oh,
really, like we just
oh,
recycled from Man of Steel.
exactly, and I'm like, it's the exact same plan. Like, why are we doing the exact same thing from Man of Steel? Not to mention, like, he only has what 3 lines of dialogue the entire movie.
Yeah, and I think I liked so this is when I where I liked the Dark Flash idea, which is why I was like, this should have been built up a little bit earlier. I
Yeah,
did like the fact that it was like, okay, it's Barry believing that he could like actually save them
right,
that created this villain.
right.
It was Barry, well, first and foremost, I was like, well, okay, Ezra is the villain too. Okay, I'm signing off on that. Okay, I agree there.
And I think
Um,
that's kind of my problem with the first half of the movie. It didn't feel like, since there wasn't a villain really introduced in the first half of the movie, it didn't feel like
nah,
conflict until Keaton came in and they said, "There's this signal in Siberia. We have to go and get that," and because it could be Kal-El or Superman in that regard. And Zod's coming to Earth to essentially terraform Earth into Krypton. And that's where I just felt like that's where the main plot of the movie came in, and it just felt so late into the movie. Whereas, like, I don't really care at this point, but it is what it is, and if they can pull it off, they can pull it off. To me, they didn't pull it off.
yeah, Reverse Flash should have been the villain.
Yeah,
Like, let's
I
be real.
agree.
It should have
I
been
agree.
just like Flashpoint,
I
where
agree.
Reverse Flash goes back, kills Barry's mom. Like, it
Yeah,
should follow this chain of events
that's
instead of going the route of let's put the Dark Flash at the end. And like, I just think that's it is a good idea
yeah,
if you build up to it and you're introducing this throughout the story. You're giving us
yeah,
these hints. We see Dark Flash more. Dark Flash clearly has a motive before we know who it is. Like
yeah.
even the show did that better with Savitar. So I was
Exactly.
like, okay, if I would have seen him more, maybe I'd feel a little bit different. But it just felt a little late. I like the idea,
Yeah,
but it's too late in the movie, in my opinion. And I
yeah,
just
yeah.
okay.
I agree with you there. Like, it was definitely too little, too late. And then we've already talked a little bit about Zod. There was no point in bringing him back. I mean, Michael Shannon didn't even want to come back. He was like, "Nope, that was a waste of time." And yet he's over here talking about how Star Wars is a waste of time, and I'm over here being like, "Well, you just came back for like 5 minutes."
Right.
So
You just came back. You came
yeah,
in saying
yeah,
Star Wars is a waste of time.
and the whole marketing was like, "Oh, he's the main villain of the movie," and I said to myself, "Why is he the main villain in a Flash movie? He's a Superman villain, and then he is the main villain in this movie, but all his cool henchmen have cooler stuff to do than him." And I just felt like he was pointless in this entire movie. So that really brought the movie down a lot for me, even though I was starting to enjoy it a lot more. It was where Zod entered the movie was where more cracks started to show for me. And that was a massive disappointment because I didn't even really like him all that much in Man of Steel. I thought he was fine in Man of Steel. I did think Michael Shannon was overacting a little bit, especially with the whole "I will find him" type of deal in
Oh,
that movie. I mean, he was fine. His plan was fine. I didn't like Superman swimming through his terraforming tentacles for 10 minutes, but
yeah,
uh
that was weird.
yeah, but I mean, he was fine in that. But to essentially bring him back and just do the same thing, but then say like, "Oh, Supergirl's the one that has the codex, and I'm gonna try and kill her now," and that's essentially it. That was very disappointing.
Yeah, I feel that. I just kind of felt like Zod
Yeah,
wasn't necessary in the
yeah,
movie. Get rid of
exactly,
Zod
exactly.
because I actually did really like him in Man of Steel, but it doesn't mean I wanted a repeat of the same thing. And I
Exactly.
will admit that's my one big glaring problem aside from the VFX. Like I said, this that's the one big problem I have is that there's no good villain here. There's great ideas that are
Right.
executed too late. And
Yeah.
Zod is one of them too.
And
Very
I
late
think,
in the movie,
yeah,
10, 15 minutes, and it's like, okay, we this is the end of Man of Steel.
yeah, exactly. And I
For
think
a different timeline.
yeah, and I think my whole thing too is we're harking on the visual effects as we should. Um, the scenes with Michael Shannon in camera, there were moments where I was questioning it. I said, "Is that even Michael Shannon or is that
Oh,
CGI Michael Shannon?" So
oh,
there were moments where it looked like CGI Michael Shannon. So I was like, is he even on set here? That was my big thing too.
Did not notice that.
Yeah. It was
I'll
like
go out on a whim and say I didn't
I
notice
think it was
that.
the scene where I think it was the like first scene where he comes face to face with Supergirl and he says, "No, I put the code like I got you're the codex or something," and like that's where
He's there.
yeah, I was like, he's definitely there, but I, but it was like that moment where, to me, where it looked a little bit questionable as to whether or not he was. It's not like a whole Pedro Pascal situation where he's only doing the voiceover in The Mandalorian, you know. But yeah, I questioned it in a couple of shots where I was like, is he even there? I mean, obviously, probably from the distance shots, he's not, but like some of the close ups, I was like, that looks CGI'd to me, but
Ooh.
let's get into the end with the Speed Force and all those multiversal worlds converging, and we see all the cameos and the celebration of DC that it's supposed to be. What were your thoughts?
So when I initially saw it, I was hyped. I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie, and so was the theater I was in.
Okay.
But I had a little time to think about it. I do think they could have just used clips.
Yes.
I understand where people are coming from when it
I
comes
don't
with the
need a. I
CGI
don't,
Christopher Reeve. I was
yeah.
like, you know what? I'm with y'all on that. I can change my mind on that
Yeah.
because
Yeah. I
at
don't.
first I was hyped. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was like, okay, cool. Like it's like No Way Home.
Yeah.
I do think it would have been better just using the clips. Titans use clips.
Mhm.
Flash use clips. Just use clips. Like
Exactly.
if you want to do something like that from now on, just use clips.
Yeah.
Use clips, just archive footage. That would be more respect to Christopher Reeve than the
Yeah. Exactly. That
CGI version of him.
I didn't have a big problem with it until Christopher Reeve and like George Reeve showed up, and then who was that? There was like another random Flash actor in there too. I think it was just some.
There was Adam West,
Oh,
Batman.
yeah, Adam West was in there too. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's where I mean, you kind of ride that line with this stuff because sure they did it in Rogue One with Grand Moff Tarkin, but he was essential to the plot. Like I felt like you had to do that with Grand Moff Tarkin, and of course they got the blessing from his estate to do it. Because
Right.
I don't think they would have if they didn't. And you have the whole, I mean, the de aging technology thing is a completely different story than what we're talking about, but bringing like Christopher Reeve back from like the dead, like a CGI Christopher Reeve. I saw that and I was just like, okay, I'm repulsed by this right now. Like I kind of feel like that's like disrespectful in a way. CGI Nicolas Cage, apparently that was him. But yeah, I was on the fence about that too. But I thought that that was actually kind of funny at the same time.
I like that. I like that a lot. I,
I
I was like, okay,
yeah,
Art Nicolas Cage Superman.
I
I'm
kind
down.
of do too now because now in somewhere in the multiverse, his Superman movie exists. So I
There you go.
want
But
to
I'm
see
like,
it now. I
okay,
want to
here's
see
how I
it.
felt about the Christopher Reeve thing.
Yeah,
It makes me wonder, did they get permission?
that well, that
'Cause I
see,
wonder if they
that's my
got
whole thing.
permission and they asked, huh?
That's my whole thing.
Yeah, I wonder if so if it came out that they got permission, I don't think I will be as upset, but I do think I would have still preferred the clips. Like above all else, just
I
play
think,
the archive footage. It won't look that bad.
yeah,
Like honestly, yeah, they can make it like in that big giant globe things that they were making. I'm like, it could have just been clips. Like it could have
right,
just been showing us clips. Like
exactly.
Spider Verse.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean the Helen Slater one too. I'm kind of okay with because I mean obviously she's still living. That's also I guess that movie's part of the Reeves universe, so sure. But yeah, I agree with you. I think at least for the dead actors, I think they should have used clips. If you want to create a full blown Nicolas Cage CGI model, sure, but at least for those dead ones, just do the clips. I think that would have been. I think it would have been. It would have felt more like a celebration and a tribute to those movies and those universes and those actors if they had done the clips instead of fully recreating Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater and CGI and Adam West in CGI and George Reeve in CGI. Well,
Yeah, it's a little much. It's a little much. But if they got permission,
yeah,
I'm a little bit more okay
yeah,
with it if they got
yeah,
permission. And
yeah.
then I think my biggest problem is they did all of that and they could not get Grant Gustin and or John Wesley Shipp in the movie.
I know.
Like I was just like, all right, the OG Flash and John Wesley,
Yeah,
Grant Gustin, we couldn't get either of them.
I know. In a
Like
movie
that's
called
bad.
in a multiversal movie called The Flash.
They should have
Perfect.
been
It's
there, like
exactly.
easily should have been there. You know
And
what? It would have been I feel like am I imagining this? The original actor for the Flash's dad, wasn't it going to be John Wesley Shipp or was it going to be someone else? Like I think he walked away. What didn't he? Like
he
wasn't it
might
going
have.
to be?
He might have.
Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe I'm just imagining that, but I feel like he was like supposed to be in it as the dad. Cause I mean he's in the TV show.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I think I might be making that up.
Okay.
I feel like the original actor for the Flash's dad is somebody else played somebody else, but
Yeah.
he ended up walking away from the
Yeah.
role.
I mean, speaking of all that too, is yeah. I mean, when you really boil it down to a movie called The Flash, it's such a disappointment that you only have Ezra Miller in the movie. You don't have Grant Gustin. You don't have Kyle Gallner. You don't have John Wesley Shipp. Like the people who have played the
Come
Flash
on
on
now.
TV shows. Yeah, it's a perfect opportunity to bring them back and you know give fans like if there was a certain version of Flash that fans grew up with, let them see their heroes again. You know, and even if it is the biggest fan service type of thing, look, I'm a fan. Service me. I really don't care how fan service is used anymore. It can be good fan service, it can be bad fan service. I really don't care. Just put it all in there. Like
Right.
that's
Just
all
show
I'm
me.
saying. Yeah,
Show me the
yeah.
money, baby.
Show me.
Show me.
I'm a nostalgic person, so just do it. I really don't care how bad it is. But it just would have been cool to see like people that we grew up with. Like you know me, I'm a big Smallville fan. I would love to have seen Kyle Gallner come back in a Flash movie and play Impulse once again because they couldn't use. They had to call him Impulse because they couldn't use the Flash name. But it would have made more sense where oh hey like the Arrowverse has ended on TV. Let's bring in Grant Gustin as the Flash. Like he's the Flash everybody knows. So it's a big missed opportunity where Spider-Man succeeded in bringing back the two previous Spider-Man actors and putting them in a movie with the current Spider-Man actor and having them be integral to the plot. And this movie didn't really do anything with that. It I shouldn't say didn't. I should actually rephrase that because it did nothing with that because none of them are in the movie. So that's you kind of have that thing too, and I just wish.
Yeah, I definitely will agree with you there. I think they should have just included them.
Yeah,
Like they're
yeah,
even clips, you could have got Grant on set. Come
I
on, you know
know
Grant would have been there.
exactly.
Come on.
Like, I mean, he's fresh off the Flash. Like, he's got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Throw
give
him
him
in
his
there.
paycheck. Give him his paycheck. Man's got to wash his car, clean his laundry. Like, come on. All right. Is there anything else you want to add? What would be like your overall thoughts on the Flash?
So overall, I had a really good time in my opinion. I did like Ezra's berries. I did really like Keaton coming back. I really enjoyed his Batman again. I enjoyed Sasha Kaye.
Yeah.
Biggest problem is the villain are non-existent really. Just
Mhm.
Zod again, and then this idea that's brought up so late in the movie that it just could not get room to really develop and grow. So I will say I really like the Flash, 8.5 out of 10. Them VFX so horrible.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
Oh,
all
horrendous!
I know.
I don't buy into that idea that they're supposed to be
No
horrible on purpose. Nope, I don't buy it.
excuse.
Yep,
That's a horrible excuse.
Big excuse. Yeah. I'm on. I guess I'm split right down the middle still. Even after this conversation, there's a lot of things I don't like about the movie. For instance, the first hour, I think is really, really, really rocky, and I even thinking about it, like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I didn't really vibe with it. It's not until Michael Keaton shows up as Batman and Sasha Kaye as Supergirl where I think the movie really takes off and the story starts to come into place and we start to get more of a plot. The cameos kind of rub me the wrong way, and at the end, it's just like, why are we doing Zod again as a villain? So there's even stuff in the second half that didn't sit well with me, but I was entertained when it was all going down, even if the visual effects were horrible. I did like seeing the Siberian action sequence, like Michael Keaton gliding out of the Batwing, even with Zod as the main villain and him essentially doing nothing the whole movie. That final action scene was still
He
somewhat.
wasn't doing nothing, was he?
I know.
Nothing.
Exactly. It was still, I think the second half had more entertainment value to it than the first half, and I was vibing with it a little bit more, and that could just be because of my nostalgia for Keaton as Batman, but I did like it more in the second half, even though I did have flaws in the second half. So I think that that's why I went split right down the middle, and I'm not saying it's as fun as maybe you are or many other people are. And I get where you guys are coming from. I'm not trying to take that away from you. It's an opinion. Everybody has an opinion, which on the internet
Okay.
apparently you can't have anymore. But but no, I respect your opinion. It's just for me, much of the first half of the movie did not work for me.
That's fair, man. Yeah, you got your opinion, I got mine, but I get it. I
Yeah,
understand. There's some missteps in the beginning, so I
yeah,
get it.
yeah. Best DC movie ever, in your opinion.
No, no.
Yeah, remember
Ever?
those things? Yeah, remember
I
those
will admit
things?
I was one of the people that did say it was the best since The Dark Knight, and one of the best.
I mean,
And
at
I
least
I'm
that's fine. I'm fine with that as long as you're not saying it's the best one ever. Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no, I
yeah,
wouldn't even put it in my top superhero. I was like, no, that's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, see,
No.
but that's fine because you were probably like, this is probably the most fun I've had since watching The Dark Knight. So
Yeah, especially well with the DCU and its track record,
yeah, it's probably the most inconsistent cinematic universe we've ever had. I was
Yeah,
going through the list today and I was like, which ones are actually good? And I was like, probably there's what, 13 of them now? 14 if you count the Snyder cut? There's
yeah,
probably
there's like 14 or something like that. I'm like,
five good ones. Good to great ones.
right. It's like five. There's like about 5 or 6 in there that are like
Yeah.
pretty good to great,
Yeah.
and then it's like the rest are just okay, decent, or not great
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, I have that same feeling too. All right, so that concludes my spoiler or our spoiler discussion. I shouldn't say mine because you are a guest. Yeah, that concludes our spoiler discussion for the Flash. A little bit late on this one, but I just wanted to. This is the only time I had to do it, and I was like, you know what, perfect time to bring on a guest. So thank you for coming on, Leo. I hope you had some fun talking the Flash, even though we had a different opposing views, but it's fun to talk superheroes with fellow mutuals. So
Yeah.
where can they find you on YouTube and Twitter and all that?
Well, first off, thanks Alex for having me on. I appreciate coming on, man. Thank you for the
Yeah,
invite.
yeah,
First time on the channel's been
yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah. Hell yeah,
like I
man.
said, man. Yeah, we're on opposite sides of the same coin, though. We're here to
Yeah,
support, still enjoy each other, and I enjoyed your opinion.
yeah.
But man, thank you so much again for having me. And
Got
you
it,
guys
man.
can find me over at Geekly Goods on all social media platforms. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and search it up in the search bar. You'll see a logo with 2 G's. Come on over. That's me, guys. Let's talk some geek over there. And Alex, thank you so much again for having me on, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. You got it, man. Anytime, anytime. Pleasure having you on the channel. You can find me at my official website that I will leave in the link below, or in the description below. I'll leave that link there. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex. That is Leo Rydell from Geekly Goods. We'll see you at the movies somewhere.